Now we're going to stitch the squares and the Y seams for the squares. We're going to take 2 of the units we pieced in the last video, and we're going to stitch the same way we did before. We're going to start with this straight seam here, then we're going to the right side seam and the left side seam. Let's flip this over, and I'm going to turn this again so we have our markings on the left again. So we have our markings on the left hand side here, and we're just going to check that they match. And let's scooch it over a little bit. Okay, put my pin in. Then the next part, these seams should interlock. If they don't interlock, then you know to mark each side, the top here and the bottom here, and match those like we did in the third video. And let's just put a pin there just to be safe. Now the difference here, we've got this will be our center of our quilt, and we want to make sure, or the center of the block, this will be the center, and this is where we want to make sure we don't have any lumps and bumps. These seams should interlock, and we'll interlock them with our fingers, and we'll match this top edge here and the side edge. And when we stitch here, we do not look at this V right here. I just put a pin here, and I'll have to fix this here. When we stitch this, let me get this straight. So I placed some pins here, some extra pins, because we need to make sure these things line up. This top edge, these edges should match, and these side edges should match. And when you're stitching down, let's turn this around. When you start stitching here the same way we did before, if you want to use your securing stitches, you can. And you stitch down 1/4 inch, and then the same thing here. And you're going to go, when you reach down here, you're going to go straight down. This V we do not pay attention to, because it's going to be, it's going to give you too much. If we put our 1/4 inch on here, you see it goes just on the inside of that V. Here's the V, here's where the end is. This is where your stitching will come off. So do not pay attention to this V here. Pay attention to your 1/4 inch and go straight down. Now I'll do that and come back. So here is my stitching, and I used the black thread. I have my securing stitches, stitch down 1/4 inch all the way down, and then you'll see here where I ignored this V because it's really not a V, and I just concentrated on a 1/4 inch from here to here, and that's what you want. Now we're going to look at the first step to making the seam, the center of the block, lay flat. Here's the seam you just stitched. If you look at the black thread that goes across, and we're looking at these white threads just above that stitching. Okay, that's a little bit closer. We are going to remove these white threads on both sides. So I pull up the last thread, the closest thread, and then cut it with my ripper, and then pull the others out. Okay, so now that piece, those threads, those stitches are gone from here. And if we turn it over, we're going to do the same thing. only now we have black thread here. So this is the seam we just stitched, and these threads above here we're going to remove. So let's cut the one at the bottom and then pull the rest out. Now what that's going to do is release this bulk in the middle when we sew the other pieces together. So do that here before you go on to the next step.